My name is Herman Cohen. My colleagues in State Department call me Hank. And I want to give you a bit of an experience I had in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 1967. At that time, the country was called Zaire, under President Mobutu, who had named it Zaire after he came to power. And he was feeling very strong, and he felt he wanted to do something revolutionary, like all the other African leaders. And he said, well, the Belgians have owned these major copper mines for 100 years, and I think they've exploited us and taken our money. I think I'm going to nationalize them. So he went ahead and he announced, I'm nationalizing these copper mines, and I'm not going to pay any compensation. Of course, nationalization is legal under international law, but compensation is required. If you don't pay it, then you're violating international law. So he made that announcement, and the same day I was walking in the street near the embassy, the students had come from the university and were marching in the street. Long live Mobutu, long live Mobutu. It was an act of socialist revolution against these imperialist Belgians. He became very popular. But what did the Belgians do? They said, you got to give us compensation. So they immediately cut off all payments from copper that was already sold. They started pulling out all their Belgian mine workers from officials down to the bottom. And there was a prospect of Congo going broke because the mines would stop operating. So I was a political counselor at the embassy at that time. And about a month before I arrived, President Mobutu said he really disliked the U.S. ambassador. His name was Mac Godley. And he said, I want him out of here. So he was declared persona non grata, and he left. And so the chargé d'affaires took over, the number 2, Robert Blake. Now, just as I was arriving, Robert Blake said to me, I've been planning this 2-week ski vacation in Switzerland, and by God, I'm not going to stop it just because I'm chargé d'affaires. I'm going, and you're chargé d'affaires for 2 weeks. So there I was, just freshly arrived. I hardly knew anything about the Congo. I served in Zambia and Zimbabwe before that. So I take over, and just when I'm there, this nationalization takes place. So I said, what do we do? Because Congo is going to go broke. So I call a meeting of the economic office, which was combined with USAID at the time. And I said, does anyone have any bright ideas about this? There's this one junior guy who probably was a year out of college. He says, they've taken over the mines, but they can't run it. They have nobody. He says they have 2 guys in the Colorado School of Mines who are training, but they're not going to be able to run the mines. So I said, well, what's the answer to that? He said, well, they should hire a company to run it for them from Belgium, and then what they pay this company include compensation. And it'll be hidden compensation, so Mobutu won't be embarrassed. They have to pay compensation. Okay, I say, who's going to sell this? So in comes the head of the World Bank, Robert McNamara, because he was upset also that, one of their important countries getting World Bank aid was going to go broke. So he gets into his hotel and he says, I want to see the U.S. ambassador. So they call up the embassy. They say, ambassador's not there. He said, I want to see the DCM. He said, DCM is not there. Well, who's in charge? So here I go. This very young officer goes over to see McNamara. And I say, Mr. President, I think we may have an idea. So I lay out this whole thing about getting a company, hiring a company, and putting into what they're going to get paid, compensation. And McNamara said, I like it. He said, I'm going to sell this to Mobutu. So he takes it, and he says, I want to go see Mobutu. He said, Mobutu's down in Lubumbashi in Katanga. He said, okay, I'm flying down there. And he goes down there, and he can't see him the first day because Mobutu is talking to the rabbi. There's a rabbi down there that he likes very much, and he's spending all his time with the rabbi. So the next day, he finally sees McNamara, and McNamara talks him into it, and he accepts it. So that solved the problem. And the idea came from this junior officer who hadn't been in the service more than 1 year. It was really a fabulous experience. Well, one thing that I understood after my experience in Kinshasa, in Zaire, when we solved the problem of Mobutu nationalizing the copper mines with the intent of not paying compensation. And we got the great idea that solved the problem from a young officer who's only a couple of years out of college. And the fact that we were able to present this and Mobutu accepted it, I had the feeling that there were other experiences like that in Africa during my days where the Africans felt, well, when the Americans say something, it's reliable. We can count on it. And we don't have to say, well, what are the Americans really thinking about? What thoughts are going through their head that they can take advantage of us? I never had that feeling. When we said things to Africans, they said, we know the Americans are trying to help us and try to work for our interests.